30 Minutes with Ron.
I was very, very thrilled to be in the victory parade in Paris a few days after the Germans left or were pushed out. We started at the Champs-Élysées, at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier at the beginning of the Champs-Élysées. And there were thousands and thousands of U.S. troops in that parade. And I was fortunate to be in a Jeep. We had a sergeant driver, a major, a captain, lieutenant, and yours truly. And the parade would stop every few minutes, as most parades do, and there were thousands and thousands of French people throwing flowers at us, and we would give out cigarettes, chiclets, and cigars, and the girls would come up and kiss our cheeks. I had more lipstick on my face at the end of the parade. It was fun. But anyway, we were attached to Patton's Third Army, and we stopped for maybe a week or two or three at different places. And when we got up to the Maginot Line, it was the following Christmas time, I went to a church service there, and the priest did it in German and Latin. Because we were up near Alsace-Lorraine. I gave some candy to some kids, and they said Dankeschön instead of Merci beaucoup. And I didn't take it away from them, but it did kind of set me back. But anyway, I got up to Luxembourg on a day off. I hitchhiked a ride with some guys in a Jeep, and that was just about the time that the Battle of the Bulge was starting. And on the Aquitania, the chaplain got me to be the organist. Every day I played for services for the troops. There was an organ, a Hammond organ on me. And I organized a double quartet. And when we got into England, we sang carols house to house, and we had this young, attractive blonde carry an open cigar box. And as we sang house to house, she would knock on the door and collect money. She got £9, which would be $36, which we gave to the British Prisoner of War Fund, which was good public relations.
Sure.
But anyway, when the war ended in France, we were in a German barracks, and we had the radio on, and there were about 12 of us listening to the good news the war had ended, and one guy pulled a pin on a hand grenade, just to be silly or something, and we all ran in all directions for fear that it would go off, but he put the pin back in. But what a stupid thing it was. But an interesting thing happened when we were in a wooded area, which we often were, so that the Germans couldn't see us when they came over at night and dropped flares and took pictures. We went into this new area, and one fellow who had been in active service, he was working with us. I was in charge of 18 men every now and then to locate the new camp near the front lines. And we would build latrines for the officers one place and for the men another. I said to this fellow, get me a small tree about this big around it, and we'll make a frame so we can put a backdrop for the officers with canvas so they'll be more comfortable. He came back with 3 Germans captured from a machine gun nest, and they were living on potatoes. They had all cut up, sliced potatoes. But anyway...
Wait, he goes off to get a tree and he finds 3 Germans.
Huh?
He goes off to get a tree or two and he finds Germans?
Yeah, and they were willing to give up, and they smelled so bad you didn't dare get downwind because he hadn't had a bath in 2 months.
Mm.
But anyway, it was a rumor that if you caught enough Germans, you would go back to the States quicker. Well, a day or two later, I was going through these woods, and there were 19 men, I was sure they were Germans, in fatigue clothing, coming toward me. I said, halt! All I had was my carbine. And I said, parlez-vous français? They said, nix, or nine. Anyone speak English? 9. Well, I was scared, but gee, they didn't have any guns on them. So pretty soon, a MP and a Jeep came through a little path in the woods. He said, what's going on, Sergeant? I said, I just captured a bunch of Germans. They said, you darn fool, those are Russians. We just liberated them from the Germans and they're going to go back to Moscow, but we've got to send them down to a compound first. So my hopes of getting back to the States were, but anyway, a lot of things happen like that.
Yeah.
But after the war was ended, we had to stay about 2 months more, or 3, before getting a ship at Le Havre back to the United States. So finally, we got a small ship this time. It was a Liberty ship called the Sea Snipe. And there was a storm, harbor. We had to go down to Norfolk. And we took showers, and we were in cots that had sheets on them. The first time we had sheets in 2 years. And we were told we couldn't go home. And around midnight, they said they've had a change in plans, you can get the next train. So I got into Yonkers to be with my wife, who lived with her father and her aunt. Her mother had died. And I got there at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I brought a bottle of cognac from France with me, and so we celebrated return.
Très bien.
But anyway, my father-in-law, William Preston, had a good job with Liberty Mutual Insurance Company in the Eastern Airline building in New York City. And I used to see Eddie Rickenbacker, the president, on the elevator now and then. But he got me a job as a salesman, and I had 3 months training, learning the insurance business, and I got my license to sell insurance in New York. So I commuted from Yonkers by train and elevated and down into the subways to Brooklyn. And I had a company car there, but finally I moved out to Carl Place, Long Island. Our first child, Lynn, was born in Yonkers in 1946. And Barbara, 2 years later, she was born in Mineola, Long Island, New York. But I was in what they call business sales, but they thought I'd do better in small business and personal sales, and I'm glad they switched me because I tripled my income in no time. So I was in the Brooklyn office, Jamaica office, and then Hempstead office. And my father wanted to retire. He had organized the Jewett Insurance Agency in 1927. He was now 75 years old. He wanted to retire. So I quit Liberty Mutual, and they let me stay 2 weeks so I could introduce the fellow replacing me to some of the more important accounts I had. And so we came up to Cheshire and moved into our house on Elmwood Circle. Our backyard was right by the 50-yard line of the Cheshire High School football team. And our 2 daughters went through the schools, of course, as I told you, and the high school was built then. And then when our daughter Lynn got married to Ray Volker, they were out in Ohio, Lynn and Ray met at Marietta College. Lynn graduated from Marietta College, and so did our other daughter, Barbara. They each found men there and married them after graduating. But I called Ray one day out in Ohio when he had become a lawyer. I said, I'm not feeling too well, I could use you in the Jewett Insurance Agency. He said, I'll come as quickly as you want. So within a couple of weeks, he came to work for me. And my wife said, why did you do such a foolish thing? How can we afford to pay him? I said, well, the commission we make on the town of Cheshire business is $15,000, and he agreed to work for that. So 2 or 3 years later, we lost the business just when he got his license to be an attorney, so that saved the day.
Yeah.
But anyway, in Cheshire, I joined the Exchange Club, the Cheshire Grange, the Masons, the BFW, and I was organist for the Masons in Cheshire for 34 years, piano player for the Grange for about 35 years, and I was organist in various churches all around central Connecticut as a relief organist. And for 7 years, I played the piano and organ for the Miss Cheshire pageant. I was in the Bristol Symphony for 7 years and the Cheshire Symphony for 7 years playing the violin. I was very, very fortunate to hear about the Bristol Old Time Fiddle Club. I got to join them, and through them I found a teacher who graduated, a violin teacher, this Dorothy Picard, who graduated from Juilliard School of Music, and I took lessons for 6 or 7 years and practiced 2 hours a day on the violin, every single day. And I was soon proficient enough to be in the Bristol Symphony, then the Cheshire Symphony. And like I said, I still play today.
Right. Now you mentioned the Miss Cheshire pageant that you had played for. Wasn't Lynn a contestant?
Oh, no, my daughter Lynn was in it with Charlie Dayton's daughter and 2 others. And my daughter Lynn came in 2nd place. The girl who won was dressed in a beautiful leotard, and they had men judges. Oh, but there's something I wanted to mention. While in Cheshire, like I say, I was a volunteer musician over at Gaylord for 15 years, and also down at the Masonic Home and Hospital, which is now called the Masonic Healthcare Center, for about 25 years. I played the organ, the piano, the violin, and when they had their 2-day fair each year indoors, I would do my flea circus. I would blow up party balloons, and I had the Duran family dummies, the black dummy and the white dummy.
Yeah.
And I did that for many years, but as you know, the heirs to the Duran family, they wanted the dummies and the 3 violins the Durans had used in show business. They wanted them back, so I gave them back, of course. But I did have a fife that they gave me, but it fell off the trunk of my car and was damaged by cars that ran over on Route 10 near Alderson Funeral Home. I felt terrible. It was made in 1836, rosewood.
Did you keep the pieces? Did
you
you keep the pieces of it?
What's that?
Did you keep the pieces of the fight?
Yeah, I got the pieces somewhere of it. But anyway, in 2003, my wife passed away because of Alzheimer's, and she had it for a few years. It was very, very noticeable. But we had a wonderful, happy life. We went to Europe about 5 times, to Mexico about 5 times for vacation.
Yeah.
And a cruise on the Mediterranean, and a cruise down to in the Bahamas, and we also went on the Queen Elizabeth to Jamaica when it retired, when it was about ready to retire. It was the biggest ship in the United States, in the world at the time, 5 blocks long. Oh, I know what I want to mention. When we were in high school, my brother and I were paper boys for the New Haven Register. And before us, it was Carl Podgway. But guess who took our place? Charlie Dayton, the doctor.
Huh.
It's unbelievable, but he was the paper boy. And we would get 18 cents per customer if they took the Sunday paper as well as the daily.
Right.
But those who took just didn't take the Sunday paper, all we got was 12 cents. And we did the paper route from Ives Corner over Cook Hill Road and Fenn Road, and we went as far as the Willows, which is now the paint store. I guess it might still be there, near everybody's. And it was an ice cream parlor, and my brother and I would take turns having that end of the paper route so we could get a free ice cream cone from Josephine Boynton, who was the gal who would give us, scoop up the ice cream. But the interesting thing about our family in a way is the fact that our 2 daughters went through Cheshire schools, as I mentioned, and Lynn and Ray Volker, their son and daughter went through the school system, and when they were in high school, they were captain of the swim team. Emily was captain of the girls' team, and Ray was captain of the men's team. And as you probably know, Emily went on to Duke University, and during her junior and senior year, she and another gal were co-captains of the Duke girls' swim team, which was quite an honor.
Oh yeah.
So I have a lot to be proud of, and I've really been lucky in many ways. It was sad to see my poor wife in the last 2 or 3 years of her life, but it was a blessing she didn't linger like some people do. Mm-hmm. Some of the people I entertained down at the Masonic Healthcare Center are people who were there when my wife was ill. And when I had to leave Cheshire and come over and go to an assisted living facility, I was very fortunate. They took me in over here because I had been a volunteer musician and director of their chorus. They knew me, and I'm probably one of the luckiest in our whole unit here. And I just do what I can to make myself healthier. I keep busy with my music, and all of us here, in some way, do our best to make the other one pleased that we're here.
Well, you're certainly a good example of karma, because you've done some wonderful things as a volunteer all over, and it's good that some of that good karma has come back to give you a good life here. You're just a very talented, and you're like a legend of Cheshire, and I'm so glad that I was able to get this talk of yours on video so that your family can have it and I can share it with the people of Cheshire.
Well, thank you very much for giving me your time. I know you're very, very busy.
Well, this is what I do.
But you have been wonderful to me, and everybody who knows you, they respect you and admire you for what you do for Cheshire.
Well, thank you so much, and I think on that very complimentary note, I'll fade out.